These old photos, I don't even know who took them, or I know where, but I don't know when. I just know it's before we went to little bales and the hay was still stacked loose. I would imagine it was in the early 50s. I don't know if you grow up on a ranch when you say you started ranching, if it was birth or you had to wait a few years later. My name's Randy Rusk, and I'm a cowpuncher in the Wet Mountain Valley. It's bordered on the west by the Santa Cristals, which is one of the longest continuous chains of mountains in the world.
Out of our back window every day, it's beautiful meadows, live water, birds. We see deer, we see elk. We don't worry about pollution, we don't worry about noise. It's a pretty simple life.
My dad came home from World War II and purchased this property. His dad started putting some of it together before. Between my son and I, we have right at 700 head of mother cows. The basis of our cow herd goes back to 1946. Late 80s, early 90s, we were seeing more and more land taken out of egg production and houses being built on it. At the time, and still, there's a large group of people that say that is the best and highest use of this land. And for a few of us, that didn't sit real well.
The politics were changing, the school was changing, the whole feel of the valley was changing.
Noxious weeds in this valley, they're a big issue. And with the addition of people and equipments and roads being built and flower gardens, we have everything. The agricultural community deals with it as best we can, with both bugs and chemicals. There's no management on subdivisions. So we have a hard time getting those people involved with weeds and wildfires and wildlife. And we talked a lot amongst each other for a long time before we got very boisterous with anybody else.
Ranchers are people who tend to keep to themselves and keep their emotions to themselves and keep their business to themselves. And the Rusks really weren't that way, and I think they were always open about that they were having the conversation about doing a conservation easement or looking at some of their options. In the ranching community, there's a verb, and it's called to neighbor. And I think one of the best accolades that a rancher can give to another rancher is that he's a good neighbor, or we really like to neighbor with those guys. I think that the Rusks demonstrate leadership by being good neighbors. That's high praise.
We stayed on task and kept looking for better ways, different ways, and conservation easements were one of the tools that we could use. We built some momentum and did our first easement on this place in 2002.
We just wanted to do what little we could to save what we had. If you look at a conservation easement, you have rights. The right to sell your water, you have the right to build houses, and all we have done is sold one of our rights.
And there was a lot of naysayers that had different visions about what would happen if you put a deed restriction, but at the same time we had neighbors who were selling mineral rights, selling timber rights, selling hunting rights, and all we did is sell the right to build houses on it and bust it up.
Those first few meetings were having coffees, having conversation, and they sort of broadened.
From that little group, we reached out across not only the community, but also the state.
One of the great things about working with the ranching community is I actually have the ability sometimes to brag for them and say that these guys are some of the best stewards out there, and these families have collected such great information and such great ability to manage land, and they care about every acre, and they care about what happened on the place 50 years ago, because that will inform what they're going to do 20 years from now. As part of getting to know the Rusks, we at Cattlemen's asked Randy to join our board, with he as the chair of our lands committee, which was a group that reviewed every conservation easement and every project. A lot of late night phone calls. I mean, if you ride on your tractor all day cutting hay, or you're baling, or you're moving cattle all day, and then you come home and spend 2 hours on the phone discussing a conservation easement in a whole other part of the state worth doing, that's a commitment that over a decade, and I can't imagine how many hours on the phone that Randy and I spent talking about conservation.
Our vision was to make people think about what is best for the land, and maybe not your pocketbook, but the best for the land. I hope we struck hard and we saved not a lot of this valley, but everything that we could.
I'm proud of the contribution we've made to the community, and I'm proud that we've chosen integrity over money.
Who knows what the future is going to be, but I think there'll always be an agricultural presence here now.